The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
I'm Vinnie Politan, the subject of my investigation, the murder of loving father Dan Markel, who was fighting for custody of his boys when he was killed by two hitmen. Here's the story. Wendi Adelson was once seen as a bright, accomplished attorney and mother of two, but beneath the polished exterior lay a bitter custody battle, a failed marriage, and a family obsessed with control. When her ex-husband, Dan Markel, was gunned down in his driveway in 2014, execution style, questions immediately turned to motive. Prosecutors allege Wendy's mother, Donna Adelson, orchestrated the hit, desperate to free her daughter from court-imposed visitation and the pain of shared parenting. Though Wendy has never been charged, her name echoes in courtrooms and podcasts, tethered forever to the plot that ended Dan's life. She gave strange interviews. Now her mother, Donna, is getting ready to face murder charges in court more than 10 years after the murder. Will the words of Wendy be used to convict her own mother, just like her brother? And during the trial of that brother, Charlie Adelson, there was a lot of talk about Donna Adelson, both inside the courtroom, like from the witness stand, as well as folks commenting online and conversations that people were having about the case. We're watching the trial of Charlie, and we're talking about Donna. Well, now the trial of Donna is coming up, and we're starting to hear a lot more people begin to talk about Wendi Adelson, the daughter, the one who was really, when you talk about who was the beneficiary of this, I don't think anyone was, because there's two children without a father, but theoretically, you know, from a criminal's mind, who's the beneficiary of all this is Wendy, because she can move from Tallahassee and raise her children in South Florida, which she in fact ended up doing. So we're going to take a look at Wendi Adelson during the course of this program, a lot closer. She did an interview with police on the day of the murder. Let's take a look at some of the moments from that interview when she is finding out from police about what happened to Dan.
Your husband, your ex-husband, excuse me, Daniel, all right, has been taken to the hospital. He's not going to survive.
Oh my God.
Okay?
I'm sorry, Mom. I'm a messenger at this party. What happened?
Well, before we get into everything, I have to establish where you were and who you were with and so forth.
Okay.
Okay? And then once we've established all that, I can give you more details.
Okay.
Do you understand why I wanted you to come here before I discuss this?
Oh my God. Oh my God. And I tried to drive up Trescott, and I saw that it was blocked.
It was blocked at some point. I'm not sure what time it was
And I
blocked.
just thought, oh, there's maybe some trees down or something, because sometimes...
Oh, you're saying as you drove down which one of the side roads?
When I'm going to a friend's party tonight, and it's a oh my God, what am I even talking about? I needed to buy, it's a stock the shelf engagement party, and so I went to buy bourbon.
Okay.
So I went to drive from my place up Trescott to get to ABC Liquor, and it was blocked, so I just turned around. I was on the phone at the time. I wasn't paying a lot of attention.
Right.
So I just turned around and drove up the other way. I just thought, oh, some sometimes when I lived there were electrical things that would happen. But they've talked about like animals being like he was dead, like on the ground. And I even quasi-understand Lincoln's named after my grandmother, and whose initials are LJ, so his initials are LJ. And he would say to my mom, who's still very heartbroken over the loss of her mother, he would say to her mom, like, is your mommy dead? Mm-hmm. And she'd say, yes, you know, you're named after him. And he'd say something like, well, is she in heaven then? You know, like, so they have some fleeting concept of things like God.
I know heaven.
I mean, I don't know.
And let me just kind of back. I'm not sure what investigator Isom kind of told you. You know that he's still alive.
No, I didn't know that.
He's.
Is he possibly gonna make it?
I don't know the answer to that. I know.
He made it sound like he was gone. Okay. So does that mean that he might be okay? You don't know.
I don't think, from what it sounds like, I don't think he'll be
the same. Okay, but he might make it.
I don't want to give you that false hope.
I'm sorry. I just thought he was gone, and now I don't know what to tell. It's sort of a game changer.
I know, and that's why I was kind of asking you.
I didn't know that. He made it sound like he was gone.
I'm trying to keep you informed as much as possible.
Thank you.
I'm trying to be in a bunch of places at once.
My grandmother once said you can't have your tuchus in 2 places at once. So it's hard
That's
to
true.
do.
That's true.
I'm losing my mind over here.
Okay, this is the thing. All right, I'm my understanding. Okay, I'm going to give you the. Let me do it backwards because this will be easier, or not backwards, but the other way.
Is he still alive?
Clinically, he's not going to live.
What does that mean?
He has a severe he has a severe brain injury.
So much shot in the head.
It's apparently there's too much damage to recover from it. Okay, that's why we need to get a hold of his
family.
Right.
I don't know what his I don't know if he has an advance directive or what he would have wanted. He once told me that he would want all. We joked. I said I would want to be like. If I have an advance directive, I do this kind of work, I run a medical legal partnership. Like, if I once said if I ever was like brain dead, I would want to be like, I'd want the plug pulled.
Right.
And he said he would want all efforts made, like he would be cryogenically frozen. Like he wanted every single effort that could be made to keep him alive. I know that much.
My understanding, and that's what we'll have to get a hold of the family as soon as possible, but my understanding is there's irreparable damage.
So a little bit of a roller coaster ride that she's on based upon some of the information that she's getting, but there is emotion there. You can read to it however you want, but let's take a look at that. That brings us to the first question in our investigation, which is about the way she's acting here. What does Wendy's demeanor during her police interview reveal? Does it seem legitimate? Does she seem surprised? She's volunteering some information. Here to help answer that question tonight is Dr. Robynn Ludwig, psychotherapist, author, and host of the new YouTube series, The Pivot, with Dr. Robynn Ludwig. Also with us, Joel Waldman, host of Surviving the Survivor podcast, which has gone deeply into this case. All right, thank you both for being here. All right, Dr. Robynn, watching this, obviously, I think she's being put on a roller coaster because of the information that is kind of in two different places about what happened here. But obviously, in the backdrop of all of this is, does she have any idea any of this could have possibly happened? What is it revealing to you as you watch Wendi Adelson in that police interview?
Well, she seemed deeply upset, and it's hard to know. It's hard to separate what we know about her family and possibly how her reports about her husband and the divorce could have been interpreted by her family. But it seemed like she was relieved when she thought he was alive. And she did say, you know, in terms of a living will, he wanted every effort to be kept alive. She didn't need to say that. And she counterbalanced what she wished for herself. So I thought that that was a strong sign that she did want him to pull through whatever crisis he was experiencing. But, you know, again, there's always that question in my mind. Did she put two and two together? Did she have any sense that her family could have been responsible for this? And that's unclear at this point.
Joel, I know that you've watched this interview many times. You have diced it and spliced it during your podcast. What does it reveal to you, this initial interview with Wendi Adelson, the day that Dan is murdered?
Yeah, Vinny, thanks for having me. And this interview happens just a few short hours. And, you know, apparently Detective Craig Isom, who conducted the majority of the interview, he tells her about the children. But during the course of the interview, there's no real sort of sense of urgency on her part. How are the kids doing? Where are they? And the most telling part to me is that part you played toward the end where another investigator is speaking to her and she comes to the realization that Dan is still alive. And the question is posed, well, is he going to make it? She says something to the effect of, oh, you made it seem like he was gone. And knowing what we know, to Dr. Robbie's point, that can take on a whole different meaning, almost like there's disappointment, a tone of disappointment. Now, listen, everyone grieves in a different sort of way. Dr. Robbie can tell you that. I have no doubt that some of that emotion was genuine, but for what purpose was that emotion being elicited? That's up to potentially a jury to decide, at least us as observers, to make our own decisions.
And Dr. Robbie, what's significant here is obviously this is not a couple that is together at the time. This is the couple actually engaged in a very bitter custody battle about where these children are going to end up. How do you see that? And you can take it beyond this couple, but just couples in general. You go through a divorce, but you are parents of children, so there's always that connection. How nasty can it get? And does that kind of go out the window in times of grief normally?
Well, I think relationships with partners, and even if you're divorcing a partner and it's a heated divorce, you know, there's still different kinds of connections. So you could like really hate somebody and may wish that they're dead, but if you actually hear that they died, it is very possible that the part of you that initially loved them or shared children with them, you know, has a very different set of feelings, may even feel guilty. So I understand the complexities of any kind of partner dynamic, even if there is a contentious divorce. It doesn't mean you hate all of the person or you would actually want them dead.
Joel, what did you think of the information she volunteered there about driving close to the house that day? She was going down that street, but it was blocked off.
Well, we've come to learn that there was a lot more about that wasn't really shared there. And that is the fact that, and I made this drive myself, Vinny, when I was up in Tallahassee. It's a very circuitous route. For her to drive by from where she was living is literally, more than a mile or so out of the way to go to this, to get a bottle of, coincidentally, bullet bourbon for the Stock the Bar party. But there's no way that if you have two kids, in my opinion, and I have three young children, she has two young kids. She doesn't really know what's going on with them that day. Something happens on her street. The police have it cordoned off. Your kids live there, albeit they're supposed to be in school or dropped off at school. Aren't you going to make an effort to find out exactly what happened? People just don't believe that story adds up. Why did she go by? Why did she have to see what was there on that particular day? A lot of it is very questionable, very suspect. But again, it could all be coincidence. We just don't know.
All right, we're going to continue going through this video of the interview coming up next. Why did Wendy mention her brother Charlie so quickly?
It was always his joke that, he knew Danny treated me badly, and it was always this joke. He said, I looked into hiring a hitman, and it was cheaper to get you this TV.
The Court TV podcast will return.
Now, do you recall making a joke that buying her a TV was cheaper than hiring a hitman? Something to that effect.
Yeah, it was. Want me to say what?
Yeah, tell me what the joke was.
What happened was, when I gave her the TV set as a divorce present, this is the stupidest thing I ever said in my life. And I said, I was going to get you a hitman, but the TV set was a lot cheaper, so I went with the TV set instead. And I said it as a complete joke, and it was stupid, but I do that a lot.
A joke about a hitman murdering his ex-brother-in-law, and then his ex-brother-in-law is murdered by two hitmen. Yeah, that's the reality of this situation. Now, this is one of those situations, head-scratching. Wendi Adelson, in her initial interview, again, they're talking about who would want to kill your brother. Take a listen here when she talks about her brother, Charlie.
Do you think someone would do this for your benefit without asking you?
No.
What good does it serve?
I made my brother, the one, his name's Charlie, the one I'm really close to, he makes a lot of jokes in bad taste, and it was a joke he made. He bought the TV for me this morning that got broken, and then I was talking to him about whether it made sense to pay to fix it or whether I should get a new one, and it was always his joke that, like, he knew Danny treated me badly, and it was always this joke. He said, I looked into hiring a hitman, and it was cheaper to get you this TV, so instead I got you this TV. I mean, he would never. If somebody tried to kill my ex-husband, they should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Regardless of who it is.
I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother, but I don't think it was my family. Anyone outside my immediate family, that's a tough one. Okay. But I don't think my immediate family did this, so okay. If it's anybody else, yeah.
Okay. Do you think that this guy, Charlie, would even be capable of doing something like this?
No.
Let's just talk.
He's the Joker.
So if you were watching the time code on this, the interview starts about 2:48 or so. It's like 20 minutes into the interview that she mentions Charlie. And as we know, prosecutors have used that again and again and again, and to help prosecute Charlie, who was convicted. Which brings us to the next question in our investigation. Why did Wendy mention Charlie so quickly? Why did she do that? Here to help answer the question, Dr. Robbie Ludwig, psychotherapist, still with us. She's also the host of that new YouTube series, The Pivot. Also joining us, mitigation specialist and defense investigator who worked on this case for one of the defendants, Monica Jordan, is with us as well. All right, thank you both. Monica, what's your theory here on Wendy? This is like 20 minutes into an interview on the day of the murder of your ex-husband. You're telling investigators that, oh yeah, my brother Charlie made a joke about hiring a hitman.
Well, she unwittingly cracked the case within the first 15 minutes of the interview. Whether she knowingly or unknowingly, intentionally threw her brother to the wolves, she did it. And I just don't understand why she would provide this additional information when it was unnecessary.
Yeah, that's the whole thing here, Dr. Robbie. If it is in fact like a joke, she's just telling him a joke, or he's just telling her a joke, but she volunteers this. What are your theories here about what is going on in these first 15 minutes of this investigation?
Well, there's truth in jest, right? That's why comedy's so funny. It kind of shows us an unconscious truth. So that's one thing. You know, I do wonder if Wendy is a sociopath in some ways, like her mother, and realized during that moment when she was talking to the police that, you know, who's the person you think of first for killing a spouse or an ex-spouse? The partner, the wife. So I think there's a part of Wendy that was very invested in making sure that she would not be responsible or the fingers would not be pointed towards her when it came to the death of her husband. And I think that there's a very clever component to Wendy that's always operating. And so I'm wondering if she's a sociopath like her mother and is just a little bit more clever at it.
Now, Monica, in terms of the hitmen themselves, they never had, there was no contact with Wendy. I've seen one picture of Wendy with the broker, Catherine McManawa. I've seen a picture of them together on the beach. But there was no contact at any point, was there, between Sigfredo Garcia, Luis Rivera, and Wendi Adelson?
The day before the execution of Dan Markel, Luis and Sigfredo saw her walking on Trescott. And so there was that encounter. That's the only encounter. Luis Rivera didn't even know it was her. It was Sigfredo that said, there's the lady right there. But more importantly, what this shows to me is that when she mentions in the interview to the detective, she says, I want everybody prosecuted that's involved in this outside of my immediate family. So this goes back to the continuing elitist entitlement of the Adelson family, that she wants these two underprivileged people of color, all of the people of color punished, but the rich white elitist in her family.
That is fascinating. And that's sort of the way that the prosecutions went in the case, right? It went from Luis Rivera, Sigfredo, Catherine McManawa, then finally Charlie Adelson, and now finally Donna Adelson as she is getting ready. All right, Dr. Robbie, thank you so much. I know Monica's going to stick around. Up next, what does Wendy's call to Donna reveal?
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the murder of loving father Dan Markel. Prosecutors say he was the victim of a murder-for-hire plot hatched by his ex-in-laws. Here's the story. Dan Markel, a brilliant Florida State law professor and loving father, was gunned down in broad daylight in his driveway in 2014. What first appeared to be a senseless act of violence unraveled into a sinister web of family resentment and custody disputes. At the center, his ex-wife, Wendi Adelson, and her wealthy, tight-knit family. Dan had blocked Wendy's desperate attempt to relocate their children to South Florida, igniting years of animosity. Prosecutors say that animosity turned deadly. A murder-for-hire plot emerged, with Wendy's mother, Donna Adelson, allegedly paying to have Dan killed. Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia were convicted. Catherine McManawa, the link between the killers and Wendy's brother, was also sentenced. Though Wendy was never charged, her words, actions, and unsettling silence cast long shadows. Did she know more than she said? As the trials continue and Donna faces justice, the world watches, haunted by what may have been a family's deadly secret. And we've been taking a look at the initial interview of Wendi Adelson just hours after Dan Markel was gunned down in his driveway. She's sitting down with police. And at one point in the interview, she picks up her phone and calls her mother, Donna. The camera's rolling. The microphone is on. Let's take a look.
Hi, Mom. How's it going? Mom, I need you to sit down. I am fine. The boys are fine. I need you to sit down. I'm fine, and the boys are fine. Danny has been. You can put me on speaker. Yeah. Danny has been shot. And I don't think he's gonna make it. And so I know. So I found this out around 1 or 2 today, and I'm at the police station, and I'm trying to help them figure out who may have done this. The boys are fine. I had Lynn and Alan pick them up from school, and they're with Lynn and Alan right now. And I'm gonna leave here soon and go be with them. But I really need you to come here and be with me. But I want you to either fly, obviously you can't leave right now, but I need you to get yourself together. If it's too much to drive, I'd really rather that you flew up. I'm at the police station, and I'm gonna leave soon and be with the boys before they go to bed. They're with Alan and Lynn, and they're totally fine. Yeah, the boys are fine, but they don't know anything yet. In his house, I know. So I just need you to calm down before you get in the car, okay? Okay, all right. I love you. I have the car here, but Jane might take me. I'm not going to be alone, so I have a lot of support, and I'll be fine. Yeah, if you could just come here, that would be great. He's in the ICU in the hospital. Okay, but be careful, okay? Okay. 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 Love you too. Bye. Mom. Oh.
You did awesome with that call.
Thanks.
You were so stressed out about it, and you handled it.
So as you watched the call, you could hear, and we boosted the audio a little bit, you could hear Donna on the other side, some of her reactions as well. And that brings us to the next question in our investigation. It's about that communication. What does Wendy's call to Donna reveal? Here to help answer the question, criminal defense attorney, former federal prosecutor Tim Jansen, and Joel Waldman, host of the Surviving the Survivor podcast. Now, gentlemen, before you answer this question, big breaking news on Surviving the Survivor today with you two. Let's play that clip for the folks at home, and then let's talk about that and then answer this question. Let's watch.
I wanted to break this. This is something I just heard from a very good source. Donna was offered a plea deal of time served if she gave up Wendy.
Whoa.
And she turned it down. And this is inside the courthouse. She was offered, someone said, maybe give her a deal. They said, no. She was offered time served if she would give Wendy, because of her age. She turned it down.
Unreal. You guys are hearing that first anywhere, I think, but here on Surviving the Survivor.
Hearing it first there, and you may have noticed Julie Janae, Court TV, TV Zone anchor, was there as well. Now, Court TV has reached out to the prosecutors, and they would not confirm the report. If I was the prosecutor, I wouldn't confirm it either, because you just can't confirm that sort of stuff. But Tim, tell us what you know and what your thoughts are about this offer, and also about the denial.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I was asking somebody else about another issue, and it came up about whether the trial was going to actually proceed. And then they mentioned possible plea deal. And then I was told she was offered time served if she gave up Wendy and that she turned it down. I was shocked when I heard it. This is the first I've heard this anywhere, and I think it's a credible source.
Tim, one follow-up. Are you surprised about the offer, or are you surprised about refusing the offer?
I'm not surprised by the offer because, as you know, everybody wants to go after Wendy. And I think that offer, if it's true, would tell you how strong a case they have against Wendy, that they were willing to give her time served, the mother, even though she's 75 or 76. That means they're really desperate to go after Wendy. And am I surprised she turned it down? No, because she would probably have to give up Charlie and Wendy to get it.
Joel, what are your thoughts? Again, first about the offer itself, and then about the refusal.
Well, Vinny, not to take any shine away from your guests, because Tim and I are guests, but on my show, I always say we've got the best guests in a better community, and this is why. I mean, Tim's got insider knowledge inside of Tallahassee. Sources have burned people before. I wouldn't be completely surprised if this was not the case, but Tim always brings the goods, and, I trust him. He's a frequent guest on the show. I was completely just stunned, the same as everybody else. I had no idea it was coming. Tim and I talked frequently, and Tim said, hey, I've got something for your show tonight. I said, great. We were talking about something else. And then I sort of dropped this news cliche, this bombshell, which in this case is no cliche at all. But to Tim's point as well, no, I'm not surprised at all that she didn't take it. Professor Joe Patuto, who was on our show as well, a law professor with like 40 years experience, pointed out what Tim just did, which is to give up Wendy, you essentially have to admit to this crime, which in turn also means she has to give up her son, Charlie. Charlie's in this appellate process now, and if she kind of comes clean about everything, Charlie gets screwed as well, has got no shot at an appeal. So she sort of has her hands tied, but kudos to Tim Jansen for having the contacts on the inside and breaking that. Sorry I didn't do it on your show, Vinny, but next time he will.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We get the information. As long as we get the information out. To me, this is fascinating because now let's go back to that phone call, right? So, Tim, in that phone call where she is calling her mom, Donna, what are you taking away from that phone call? Daughter to mother allegedly breaking the news about the shooting of Dan.
It's just surreal. It's like, why would she call her mother in the middle of the interview with the police? I think the police were trying to get her make a statement or maybe get the mother to make a statement. And it's really good acting, or you would say bad acting. I don't know how you could spin it, because at points it looks like Wendy is involved, and at other points it looks like she's not involved. So it's just surreal.
What fascinates me, Joel, is that she's a very bright woman. She's fully adult. She has children, but she needed her mom there, right? She's saying, I need you here, Mom. She says that in the phone call. I get it. You need your family around you in a time like this, but this is just happening. Like, all of this is just happening. What are your thoughts about because you can sort of hear a little bit of the other side of the phone call. Donna has sort of a loud voice. What did you take away from that?
I mean, to me, this is a damning call. Tim Jansen on our show, Wendy has worn the same dress at several trials, and he once remarked, well, an actress wears the same costume when they're performing, and I think there's some performative acting here by Wendi Adelson. To me, knowing what we know, and I'm not going to deny that I have a bit of prejudice here, but it's almost like what you said, Vinny, which she is letting Donna, her mother, know that the job was done. And if you notice on this call, there is just zero emotion. I mean, she's so up and down and roller coaster-ish with Detective Craig Eisen, but suddenly when she pivots to call her mom to sort of acknowledge that this happened, and you'll notice too, Donna doesn't really ask, is he okay? What happened? None of that till a few minutes into the call. So it's almost like Donna is accepting the call from Wendy, having anticipated it, and Wendy letting her know what happened a few minutes into the call. It's eerie knowing what we know now.
Absolutely is. Joel Waldman, host of Surviving the Survivor podcast. On this program, you learned why you need to listen to and watch that podcast as well. Tim's going to stick around. Still to come, was Wendy trying to implicate a man named Jeffrey Lacasse?
He just was convinced that I'd been cheating on him for months and had kept track of it and was just absolutely convinced that I was cheating on him.
This is the Court TV podcast.
Well, if I had left on my trip at the scheduled time that she had known about for quite a while, I would have driven pretty close to Danny Markel's house about the same time as at the murder, in a similar looking car to the suspect vehicle.
That's Jeffrey Lacasse. This is someone who, after the breakup of Danny and Wendy, Wendy was dating him. And there he is describing that, if I had taken this route, I was driving the car, I may have been a suspect in the murder of Dan Markel. So Jeffrey Lacasse's name also comes up during the interview of Wendi Adelson. Take a listen.
Is Jeff a violent person?
No.
Not at all?
No.
Jeff own a gun?
I don't think so. I mean, my guess would be 100% no, but I guess I was only in his house one time. I mean, he certainly could have a gun and I wouldn't know about it, but he never...
Lives by himself?
Lives by himself. He'd never talked to me about a gun.
Okay.
I mean, he was in the military, so...
Oh, he was in the military before?
Yeah, he grew up in California. His dad was in the Air Force, and then he was in the Air Force and ended up in Eglin Air Force Base, and he started going to community college and took classes and was really bright and ended up doing a PhD here at FSU and then taught in Arizona and then just got rehired here. Not rehired, but hired. And he just was convinced that I'd been cheating on him for months and had kept track of it and was just absolutely convinced that I was cheating on him, and I kept telling him I wasn't, and he just was, I felt not very trusting of me, and it just made me feel really uncomfortable, and after that happened, I wasn't sure that I wanted to be with him anymore.
No, but, oh yeah, and he was in the military. I don't know if he had a gun. Maybe he had a gun. I don't know. Brings us to the next question in our investigation. Was Wendy trying to implicate Jeffrey Lacasse? Is that possible? Is that possible? Here to help with our investigation, Monica Jordan, Tim Jansen with us. Monica, what are your thoughts here? Do you think it's even possible that Wendy was trying to kind of throw the name around there a little bit when she was starting to be questioned about some people?
I think Wendy was trying to fill every crack and hole in this case with whatever name she could give out. She implicates her brother within 20 minutes. She's now talking about a boyfriend that's jealous, or an ex-boyfriend that's jealous and thinks she's having an affair. Well, she's clearly not having an affair with her ex-husband, who she's in a horrible custody battle with. And she drags this poor guy into this incident no more than he wants to drag himself into it. He was pretty quick to want to involve himself. Proved that he had a pretty solid alibi. But for the most part, Wendy is throwing rocks at everything. I just don't understand, after having learned that the father of your children has just been taking a headshot in the garage, she's not listen, I want to get to my children. I'm worried about my children. I don't know who did this. We can talk about this later. And she doesn't do that. She's continuing to fill this information and do everything to deflect away from her when she's truly ends up being almost in the center of it.
Tim, during one of the trials, Jeffrey Lacasse's testimony, interesting because, and I want to play it, and then I wanted to get your comments on it because it's kind of a bizarre conversation that he claims to have had with Wendy about his travel schedule. Let's take a listen.
When she called me back, she had a series of detailed questions about what I would be doing on Friday.
And Friday is going to be July 18th, right?
Yes.
And that's the date of the homicide?
That's exactly right.
What were her inquiries of you regarding that date?
I had a trip planned to Tennessee. She was aware that I was planning to leave about 11 a.m. On Friday. I need to get to Atlanta for an early dinner, so with traffic, she knew I was departing at 11. And at the yoga studio in the parking lot, she had asked if I was still going, if I didn't go, why not, what route I would be taking a lot of a bizarre amount of interest in that trip that didn't make sense to me at the time, given that she didn't want to spend time with me.
And how does it make sense to you now?
Well, if I had left on my trip at the scheduled time that she had known about for quite a while, I would have driven pretty close to Danny Markel's house about the same time as at the murder, in a similar looking car to the suspect vehicle.
Tim, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, Jeff came off as a very credible, overly emotional witness. It does look like, because I think at the testimony you haven't played, he said she distanced herself from him. On that night in the parking lot, she didn't want to date him, didn't want to see him, but then she did ask these questions that he's referring to. When are you leaving? What time are you leaving? Very, very implicating questions that would lead one to believe they're trying to put someone else near the location. And then in this interview, you put that together, very jealous. He loves me, thought I was cheating. He's not violent, but he was in the military. His dad was in the military, so you never know. Altogether, yeah, she's giving another suspect.
Yeah, Monica, this is bizarre. Like, who cares about what route you're taking to go anywhere? That just, to me, doesn't make any sense. And the other thing is, it was always strange to me, the choice of vehicle by the hitmen in this case. Were they told what kind of vehicle to rent?
No, they thought it was cheaper and it was what was available. I mean, we've discussed before, these two nitwits blew a hole through the fuel line on the Prius. It was a hybrid, and almost ran out of gas and brought more attention to themselves on one of the scouting trips.
Unbelievable. So at the end of the day here, Tim, we have about 15, 20 seconds left here. 0 to 10 chances of Wendy being charged, knowing everything you know, including the news that you broke today.
I think they don't have enough to charge Wendy right now. I do want to add, when he said he was at the yoga studio, that yoga studio is less than 2 blocks from Dan Markel's house.
Wow. Wow.
That's true.
Unbelievable. Big thank you. Monica Jordan, always great to have your insight into the case, having worked investigating it. Tim Jansen, thank you so much. Breaking news all day long. Wow. All right. You know, a lot of circumstances surrounding the statements and actions of Wendi Adelson certainly make her look bad, but there is no smoking gun or direct evidence implicating her. They tried to get it perhaps from Donna. So the question is, do prosecutors have enough to build a viable circumstantial case for murder? We'll have to wait and see. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.
There you have it. If you want to see more in-depth reporting on the latest true crime stories, you can see me every weeknight, 8 p.m. Eastern on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for downloading. And as always, please don't forget to hug the kids.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.